Hello guys, welcome to the video. So this one gonna be probably the most important part of the tile system we're making. It's pretty easy to do, so if you worried a little bit, don't worry, it's gonna be very easy and quick to make. What we need to do here is to use prefabs that we have over here as a reference when we want to update visuals of the tile we have in the scene. That's what we need to do. For that, first of all, of course, we need to have information about these prefabs. We need to have reference, and we need to know what are the variables on the prefabs over here. So I'm gonna make an object, and let me name it as grid builder, because it's gonna be used later for making a level. Then we're gonna go to scripts, tile system, and we want to make script that's gonna be named as tile set holder, something like that. This one will have reference to the prefabs and only that. It's not gonna do anything else. Let's go to this script, and for starters, just to be sure it's working, we're gonna use a couple of variables. We're gonna make public game object tile road, public game object tile field, and let's do public game object tile sideway. Just that. We're gonna save it, go back to Unity. Now we need to select grid builder, and we want to put the script on this game object like that. Then we want to go to prefabs, tiles, and let's drag the tile road, tile sideway, and tile field. Where is it? Here. All right, this is good. We have the references to the prefabs we're going to use. Now let's go to the tile script, tile slot over here. This can be removed for now. And what we want to have is a method that will get the game object as a reference, check the mesh on that game object, check the material on that game object, and then apply those meshes and materials to itself. So this is how we're gonna do that. You're gonna make public void switch tile game object, and this is gonna be a new tile. All right, maybe let's name it as a reference tile, just that. Yeah, this is better. Then inside we're gonna do tile slot new tile equals to reference tile get component of a tile slot. Very nice. As you might understand, this method will be on each tile slot, including the one we want to use as a reference and the one that we're using at the moment. Maybe let me show you my prototype real quick. So let's say this is the tile we want to change. And if we want to change it with a road or sideway, and we go to prefabs, we can see that sideway has the same script. So we basically can use same methods on the same script. For example, in this case, we need to get information about mesh and mesh renderer and mesh filter, just so we can get material and mesh itself. So for that, we would have to get components of those, and we need to do it in this way. Private mesh renderer, it's gonna return get component of a mesh renderer. We need to do it like this because we're using this in the editor out of a play mode, and we cannot get component in the awake. We need to get component before we even start the game. And when you do something like this, it returns you information about component every time you're trying to use this variable. The downside is very simple because it works like this. You're trying to get component every time you're using the variable, and that can be heavy for the performance if you play the game. For example, if you get component when you creating lots of objects at runtime, that could be the problem. But as we're working in the editor, it's going to be absolutely fine. Okay, so this one, then private mesh filter, return me get component of a mesh filter. Very nice. Now we have two components, and we can make a method that would give us information from these components. One would be public material, because we need a material to change the color if it's been changed from field to road, for example. So public material get material. It's going to return me mesh renderer shared material, just that. And then public mesh get mesh filter shared mesh. Very nice. And now we can go back to switch tile and use mesh filter dot mesh and make it equal to new tile get mesh, and then mesh renderer dot material equal to new tile get material. All right, this may be a little bit confusing. I'll try to explain once more. We have this method, these two methods, in case you want to get information from a tile. And over here, we just assigning information that we got from another tile. So even though these two are in the same class, we're using this mesh filter and mesh renderer for the current tile slot, and we assigning information that we got from a new tile slot that we pass into parentheses. Yeah, that's the idea. I hope that makes sense. Now, let's keep it as it is for now, and let's go to tile slot editor. Over here, first of all, let's make just two buttons. To make two buttons, we need to do something different here. I'm gonna remove this one for now completely, and I'm gonna make a float value button width, which will define how long button will be. So we're gonna do equals to editor GUI utility current view width minus 25 divided by 2. So it's gonna have the current width of this window over here, right? The current width of this window, the one over here, and then it's gonna do just minus 25, so we have a little bit of space between borders and the button. And then we do divide by 2 because we want to have two buttons, one next to another. Now we need to open GUI layout begin horizontal. This will open horizontal layout for buttons. Let's close it at the same time before I forget. And horizontal. And inside of this horizontal, we're going to make two buttons. One of them is going to be for field, another for the road. Let's do GUI layout button field. This is the name for a button. And then GUI layout width with a button width inside of a parenthesis. Then inside, we want to call switch tile method for each tile that was selected. But before we do that, we need to know what game object we're going to pass to that button. Because if you remember, this method requires a reference over here. To get that reference, we're going to use tile slot holder that we created before. So we're going to go here and we're going to type game object new tile equals to find first object by type, and we're going to look for the first tile set holder we get, because we just need one. Even if it's a couple of them in the scene, it doesn't matter. We just need one of them to get the reference. That's the only job it has to do. So over here, because we're using a field button, I'm going to use tile field game object. All right, and then for each var object, let's call it target, maybe target in targets, we're gonna do tile slot target switch tile to new tile that we got over here. You know what? I'm afraid this name can be a little bit confusing because we have target variable built in Unity. So let's rename it to, I don't know, target tile. Yes. Okay, and now let's make second button for another tile. I'm gonna duplicate this or just copy it, paste it in here. This one gonna be road. Here we're gonna use road tile, and over here we don't need to change anything. So this is the method. Take a look. It was pretty easy to make. Basically a copy paste, but it works. Let's go back. Let's see our tiles. And we have field and road. On this one as well, field and road. Now let's select them both and let's try it. I'm gonna switch it to road. It didn't work. Huh. Let me see why. Oh, I know why. I'm so sorry. I forgot to do something. We need to go to prefabs and we need to make sure that these tiles have tile slot component on them, because they do not. Let's select them all. Wait a second. Some of them already have it. No? It's okay. Let's select them all. Let's click add component of a tile slot. And let's drag it above so it's a bit easier to manage. Now each tile slot has a tile slot component, and we can call methods to get mesh or material. Let's try again. Gonna select these two. Sorry, this is the extra now. This one, the extra. Remove component. Remove component. You know what, just to make it less confusing, let's delete these two. And let's take a new one. And another one. Now I'm gonna select them both. And click road. Phew, we changed them. Very cool. Works. I'm so happy about this. Now, there is something else we need to do before we go further. It is a tile with a child object, like this one. Because it's not enough just to change mesh and material if you want to use this tile, because this one has a child over here. So what we're going to do is something simple. We're going to go back over here, and we're going to make a method that will get list of children that object has. We're going to do public list of game objects, get all children. Then inside we're going to make a new list of game objects, children equals to new list of game objects. And then for each child, we're going to add that game object to this list, and then we're going to return it. This is how it's going to work. So for each transform child in transform, and this one basically will get all of the children's under the current transform we're using. Yeah, that is having this script. Yeah. We're going to do children add child.gameObject. Then we're going to just return children like that. So now this method will give me all of the child game objects under one game object. And I can use it to delete any children if I have them, and then create a new one if I need them. This is how it's going to be done. We're going over here and we're going to do for each game object child in get all children. So this one will clean up the children that we have. We're going to do destroy, and this time we need to use immediate because we doing this in Unity editor. It's better to use destroy immediate. So you're going to do destroy immediate child. And this is such a bad thing to, let's use object here. I don't want to destroy any children. Object. Okay. And then we need to make new children if we have to. In case of this sideway tile. Over here. Where is the sideway? Sideway. It has a child game object. So we need to get information about this game object and we need to make it. Yeah, that's what we need to do. Let's go back and we're gonna do for each game object, object in new tile, get all children, because we're getting information from a tile that we use as a reference. We're gonna do instantiate object, and we're gonna give it a parent of a current transform. So just type transform over here. And that's it. We don't need to do anything else. Now let's try this. I'm gonna save it. Gonna go back to tile slot editor. And over here, we want to make new horizontal. I'm gonna do GUI layout. Wait, let me just copy this. Begin horizontal, end horizontal, and then inside, I'm gonna make one button. Gonna take this, paste it in here. Probably this one can be multiplied by 2 because it's going to have only one button for now. And let's say we're making a sideway. Sideway. As a tile, we're going to use sideway tile, and that's it. We don't need to change anything else. I'm going to save it, go back to Unity, just take a look at the script. Yeah, now we can go back to Unity. And over here I have two tiles. I'm going to select them both, and I'm going to try to switch to sideway. Let's try it. Boom, it works. All right, very well. We have a child game object as it's supposed to be. The only issue now is the name of a game object and the collider. As you can see, we have collider from a previous setup. It is a box collider, and we need to adjust it, and we want it to be automatic. And I'm going to show you how to do that, the collider and the name, in the next video. All right, I'll see you there.